The world fears calm people more than angry people. Because angry people are predictable. Emotional people are easy to control. But a calm, focused, disciplined mind becomes impossible to manipulate. Most people react instantly to everything. They argue, complain, defend themselves, and waste energy trying to prove their worth to others. But I learned long ago that the less you react, the more power you keep. I did not become strong because I fought everyone. I became strong because I learned how to fight myself. I mastered my emotions. I controlled my focus. I stopped wasting energy on things that did not matter. Think less, speak less, focus more. That is how you become dangerous in a world full of distracted people. 1. Stop reacting to every little thing. Listen to me carefully. Every reaction costs energy. Most people are emotionally controlled by the world around them. Someone ignores them and they feel hurt. Someone criticizes them and they become angry. Someone disrespects them and they immediately try to defend themselves. But why are you giving strangers the power to control your inner state? When I trained martial arts, I learned something important. The fighter who reacts emotionally always makes mistakes. Anger destroys timing. Fear destroys focus. Ego destroys discipline. The calm fighter always sees more clearly. I did not waste my energy reacting to every opinion people had about me. Many people misunderstood me. Many doubted me. Some criticized my philosophy because I refused to think like everyone else. But I understood something most people never learn. You do not need to react to prove your strength. Silence is often more powerful than explanation. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, you become difficult to manipulate. People can no longer control your peace with words, opinions, or negativity. And that is dangerous because a person who controls himself becomes unstoppable. 2. Think less and trust your instincts. Most people destroy their own confidence by overthinking everything. They think too much before making decisions. They replay conversations in their minds for hours, wondering if they said the wrong thing. They imagine problems that have not even happened yet. Their mind becomes so full of fear, doubt, and unnecessary thoughts that they stop trusting themselves completely. I learned this deeply through martial arts. In combat, if you think too much, you freeze. You hesitate for 1 second, and that hesitation becomes weakness. A fighter who constantly doubts himself loses focus quickly, but a calm fighter trusts his training, moves naturally, and reacts with clarity. That is how life works too. I once said, empty your mind. That does not mean stop thinking completely. It means stop allowing useless thoughts to control your actions. Most thoughts are distractions. Fear is a distraction. Overthinking is a distraction. Worry is a distraction. A focused mind moves with confidence, while a distracted mind stays trapped in confusion. Many people spend their whole lives mentally exhausted because they cannot stop thinking about everything. But thinking without action changes nothing. Worry changes nothing. Fear changes nothing. The more you overthink, the weaker your confidence becomes. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is quiet your mind, trust yourself, and move forward anyway. Train yourself to think clearly, not endlessly. 3. Speak less and observe more. Weak people talk too much because they constantly want attention, validation, or control. Strong people stay calm, observe quietly, and understand more than others realize. When I entered a room, I did not feel the need to prove myself by speaking all the time. I watched people carefully. I studied their behavior, emotions, energy, and reactions. A person reveals a lot through small actions, facial expressions, and the way they treat others. Quiet observation teaches you things loud people never notice. Most people speak without thinking. They reveal their anger, insecurity, jealousy, and weakness through unnecessary words. Emotional people cannot stay silent because silence forces them to face themselves. But a disciplined person learns to stay calm and speak only when necessary. I learned that talking too much wastes energy. Arguing wastes energy. Explaining yourself to everyone wastes energy. You do not need to react to every opinion or prove yourself to people who already misunderstand you. The more silent you become, the more focused your mind becomes. You stop chasing attention and start protecting your peace. And when you speak less, your words begin to carry more weight and power. Train yourself to observe more, listen carefully, and speak with purpose, not emotion. 4. Focus only on what makes you stronger. Most people are mentally weak not because they lack potential, but because their focus is constantly being stolen. Every day, they give their attention to useless drama, negative people, social media, arguments, fear, and things that do not improve their life at all. Their mind becomes scattered in 100 different directions, and because of that, they never master anything. A distracted person slowly loses control of his own life without even realizing it. I understood this very early in my journey. If I wanted to become stronger, faster, sharper, and more disciplined, I could not waste my energy on things that did not help me grow. While other people were distracted, I trained. While others complained, I improved myself. While others wasted time trying to impress people, I focused on mastering my body and mind. That is why focus became my weapon. When you focus deeply on improving yourself every single day, your entire life begins to change. Your confidence changes, your habits change, your discipline changes, even the way you think changes. But none of this happens if your attention is controlled by distractions. Most people say they want success, peace, confidence, or strength, but their focus says the opposite. They spend hours worrying about people who do not care about them. They constantly compare themselves to others. They chase entertainment all day, but avoid hard work. Then they wonder why their life never improves. Listen to me carefully. Your focus creates your future. If you focus on negativity, your mind becomes weak. If you focus on distractions, your goals become weak. But if you focus on growth, discipline, knowledge, and self-control, you slowly become stronger than the person you used to be. When I trained martial arts, I was fully present in every movement, every punch, every kick, every breath required complete focus. Because the distracted mind is slow, but the focused mind reacts with precision. This applies to life too. The more focused you become, the more clearly you see opportunities, mistakes, and solutions. A focused person does not waste energy trying to do everything at once. He chooses what truly matters and gives his full energy to it. That is why you must protect your attention. Stop allowing everything around you to control your mind. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every distraction deserves your time. The world is full of noise, but powerful people learn how to stay focused despite the noise. And once your focus becomes stronger than your distractions, your life begins to transform completely. 5. Control your emotions before they control you. Listen to me carefully. A man who cannot control his emotions will eventually destroy his own peace, his own focus, and sometimes even his own future. Most people believe strength means reacting loudly, defending themselves instantly, or showing anger when they feel disrespected. But through my years of training, fighting, discipline, and self-discovery, I learned the opposite. Real strength is remaining calm when life tries to shake you emotionally. Anyone can lose control. Anyone can scream when angry. Anyone can react emotionally when hurt. But very few people can stay disciplined when emotions become intense. That is where true power begins. When I trained martial arts, emotional control was just as important as physical skill. A fighter who becomes angry loses clarity. His movements become reckless. His mind becomes predictable. The moment emotions take over, focus disappears. That is why calmness is dangerous. A calm person can think clearly while everyone else is losing control. I understood that if other people could control my emotions, then they could control me. Think about that carefully. Every time someone ruins your mood with words, they gain power over your mind. Every time anger controls your actions, you lose control over yourself. And every emotional reaction weakens your discipline. That is why I trained myself to stay calm under pressure. There were moments in my life when people criticized me, doubted me, and misunderstood me. Some people attacked my philosophy because it was different. Others judged me without understanding my journey. But I realized something important. Not every opinion deserves a reaction. Most people waste their energy fighting battles that do not matter. They argue with strangers, defend themselves constantly, and carry emotional pain for years because they cannot let things go. But emotional reactions slowly poison the mind. Anger drains your energy. Overthinking destroys your peace. Hatred keeps your spirit heavy. You must learn how to feel emotions without becoming controlled by them. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming disciplined. Feel anger without becoming reckless. Feel pain without becoming weak. Feel disappointment without losing yourself completely. A strong mind experiences emotions, but never becomes a slave to them. I once said, "A quick temper will make a fool of you soon enough," and this is true for many people today. One emotional decision can destroy years of progress. One moment of anger can ruin relationships, opportunities, and peace that took years to build. That is why self-control is one of the highest forms of strength. The calmer you become, the sharper your mind becomes. You stop reacting impulsively. You begin thinking clearly before acting. You become more aware of your energy, your thoughts, and your decisions. And slowly, life stops controlling you emotionally because you finally learn how to control yourself. Most people spend their whole lives controlled by outside situations. Their happiness depends on other people. Their peace depends on circumstances. Their emotions change every time life becomes difficult. But a disciplined person learns how to remain centered even during chaos. That is real power. When you master your emotions, you become difficult to manipulate, difficult to distract, difficult to break. Because now your mind belongs to you, not to anger, fear, or the opinions of others. And once you reach that level of control, you become dangerous in the most powerful way possible. 6. Stop seeking validation from people. The moment you stop needing approval from everyone around you, your mind becomes free. Most people are not living for themselves. They are living for opinions. They constantly worry about how others see them, what others think about them, and whether people accept them or not. Because of this, they slowly lose their real identity, trying to become someone the world will approve of. I refused to live like that. Very early in my journey, many people doubted me because I chose a different path. Some criticized the way I taught martial arts. Others believed my philosophy was strange because I refused to blindly follow traditions that no longer made sense to me. But if I spent my life trying to satisfy everyone, I would never become the man I was meant to become. That is something you must understand deeply. You cannot become powerful while constantly needing validation from other people. The more you depend on approval, the weaker your confidence becomes, because now your peace depends on how people respond to you. One compliment makes you happy. One criticism destroys your mood. One rejection makes you question your worth. This is emotional slavery. Most people are terrified of being judged, so they hide their true personality. They silence their dreams. They avoid risks. They pretend to be someone they are not just to fit in with people who may not even care about them deeply. but there is no freedom in living for other people's opinions. When I trained, I focused on self-mastery, not popularity. I cared more about growth than applause. I understood that real confidence is built privately through discipline, pain, focus, and experience, not through attention from the crowd. You must stop asking the world for permission to become yourself. Some people will misunderstand you no matter what you do. Some people will criticize your choices no matter how hard you try to explain yourself. Some people will secretly dislike you simply because you are different. Accept this reality and move forward anyway. Do not waste your life trying to be liked by everyone. A man who constantly seeks approval becomes emotionally controlled by others. He changes his behavior to avoid rejection. He fears speaking honestly. He sacrifices his peace just to feel accepted. And slowly, he loses himself completely. I learned that true strength comes from being comfortable standing alone when necessary. There were moments in my life when people laughed at my ideas. Some people thought I was too different, too intense, too unconventional, but I trusted my own vision more than the opinions around me. And because of that, I created my own path instead of becoming a copy of someone else. That is what you must do too. The world respects people who are secure within themselves. People who do not desperately chase validation carry a different kind of energy. They move calmly. They speak confidently. They are not emotionally shaken by every opinion because their identity is built from within, not from outside approval. Once you stop needing applause from the world, your confidence becomes stronger, your mind becomes quieter, your decisions become clearer. You stop performing for people and start focusing on becoming better for yourself. And that is when real freedom begins. Because the most powerful person in the room is often the one who no longer needs anyone's approval to feel valuable. 7. Become calm, focused, and unpredictable. Most people think danger looks loud. They think the strongest person is the one who speaks aggressively, reacts emotionally, argues constantly, or tries to dominate every room with noise and attention. But through my years of martial arts, discipline, pain, training, and self-mastery, I learned something completely different. The most dangerous person is calm. A calm person sees clearly while emotional people lose control. A calm person thinks carefully while others react impulsively. A calm person stays focused while the world around him becomes distracted by fear, anger, ego, and chaos. That is real power. When I trained, I understood that emotional reactions create weakness. If a fighter becomes angry, his movements become careless. If fear enters his mind, his confidence disappears. If ego controls him, he stops learning and becomes blind to his own weaknesses. But the calm fighter becomes difficult to defeat. Why? Because calmness creates awareness. Awareness creates precision, and precision creates control. Most people today are controlled by emotions every single day of their lives. One bad comment ruins their peace. One difficult moment destroys their focus. One rejection changes their confidence completely. Their emotions constantly rise and fall depending on what happens around them. That means the world controls them. But a disciplined person learns how to remain centered no matter what happens externally. He learns how to stay calm during pressure, silence during conflict, and focused during distractions. And once you reach that level of mental control, you become unpredictable to everyone around you. I want you to think about this carefully. Emotional people are easy to manipulate because their reactions are predictable. If someone insults them, they become angry instantly. If someone ignores them, they become insecure instantly. If someone disagrees with them, they feel personally attacked instantly. But calm people are different. You cannot easily control someone who controls himself. That is why emotional discipline is dangerous, because once your mind becomes calm, people lose the ability to disturb your inner peace so easily. They no longer know how to control your emotions. They no longer know how to distract your focus. They no longer know how to weaken your confidence. And that changes everything. When I was younger, I realized something important about life and martial arts. The goal was never to become emotionally reactive. The goal was to become emotionally disciplined. I did not want my anger controlling my actions. I did not want fear controlling my decisions. I wanted complete awareness over my own mind. That is why I trained endlessly. Not only physically, but mentally. Every challenge became mental training. Every difficult situation became an opportunity to strengthen discipline. Every emotional moment became a test of self-control. Because real mastery is not mastering other people. Real mastery is mastering yourself. Most people spend their lives fighting external battles while losing the internal battle inside their own minds. They cannot sit alone peacefully because their thoughts control them. They cannot face criticism calmly because their ego controls them. They cannot stay focused because distractions control them. They cannot remain patient because emotions control them. And because of this, they become weak without realizing it. Listen to me carefully. If you cannot control your own mind, you will never fully control your life. The world is full of distractions designed to steal your attention. Noise is everywhere. Drama is everywhere. Anger is everywhere. Negativity is everywhere. Weak minds absorb all of it constantly, but strong minds learn how to remain focused despite the chaos. That is why silence is powerful. Silence allows you to observe more deeply. Silence allows you to think clearly. Silence allows you to protect your energy from unnecessary emotional battles. Most people talk too much because they are uncomfortable with stillness. But calm people do not feel the need to constantly prove themselves with words. I learned that a focused mind speaks less but understands more. When people become emotional around you, stay calm. When people try to provoke you, stay disciplined. When people try to pull you into negativity, remain focused on your purpose. Because the calmer you become, the more powerful your presence becomes. A calm person carries a different energy. He does not desperately seek validation. He does not react to every opinion. He does not waste energy trying to impress everyone around him. His confidence comes from within, not from external approval. That makes him dangerous. Most people today are addicted to reacting. They react to social media. They react to criticism. They react to rejection. They react to every little inconvenience emotionally. Their mind never rests because they constantly allow outside situations to control their inner state. But powerful people train themselves differently. They pause before reacting. They think before speaking. They observe before acting. And because of this, their decisions become sharper, calmer, and more intelligent. I want you to understand something deeply. Being calm does not mean being weak. A calm mind is often far more dangerous than an emotional one. Why? Because emotional people become reckless. Calm people become precise. Emotional people lose focus under pressure. Calm people become more focused under pressure. Emotional people panic during chaos. Calm people adapt during chaos. And adaptation is one of the greatest forms of strength. In martial arts, water became one of my greatest philosophies. Water adapts to every situation. It flows naturally without resistance, yet it can become incredibly powerful. That is how your mind should become too. Do not allow life to harden your mind with anger and bitterness. Learn how to adapt calmly while remaining strong internally. Most people become mentally exhausted because they resist everything emotionally. They fight every opinion. They argue over everything. They carry emotional pain for years. But peace begins when you stop allowing unnecessary things to control your mind. Not every battle deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your reaction. Not every person deserves access to your energy. Protect your peace carefully. The world will constantly try to distract you from yourself. People will project their insecurities onto you. Some people will misunderstand you. Some people will judge you unfairly. Some people will dislike you simply because you refuse to think like everyone else. Let them. Do not waste your life trying to control how others see you. Focus on controlling yourself instead, because once you truly master yourself, outside opinions lose power over your mind. That is freedom. I learned that true confidence is quiet, true strength is disciplined, true power is controlled. Loud people often hide weak minds, but calm people carry inner strength that does not need constant attention. And when you become calm, focused, disciplined, and emotionally controlled, something powerful happens. You stop fearing life so much. You stop fearing rejection. You stop fearing criticism. You stop fearing difficult situations. Because now your strength no longer depends on comfort or approval. Your strength comes from self-control. That is why self-mastery changes everything. Most people spend years trying to control other people while completely failing to control themselves. But once you master your own emotions, focus, discipline, and reactions, you become stronger than most people will ever understand. You become difficult to manipulate, difficult to distract, difficult to intimidate, difficult to break. And that is why the less you react, the more dangerous you become. Not dangerous because of anger, not dangerous because of aggression, but dangerous because your mind becomes disciplined, calm, focused, and completely under your control. And a person who fully controls himself becomes unstoppable. 8. Discipline your mind every single day. Most people want a strong mind, but they do not want the daily discipline required to build one. They want confidence without struggle, focus without sacrifice, peace without self-control. But the truth is, mental strength is not something you are born with. It is something you train every single day through discipline, awareness, and repeated effort. I learned this deeply throughout my life. People often looked at my speed, physical ability, and fighting skills, but they did not always see the discipline behind it. They did not see the endless hours of training when nobody was watching. They did not see the pain, repetition, failures, loneliness, and mental battles that shaped me into who I became. That is why I say this clearly. Your mind becomes strong the same way your body becomes strong, through consistent training. Most people allow their mind to become weak because they never discipline it. They wake up every day controlled by emotions, distractions, laziness, fear, and negative thinking. Their habits control them instead of the other way around. And over time, this creates a weak and unstable mind. But disciplined people are different. A disciplined person does not wait to feel motivated before taking action. He understands that motivation comes and goes, but discipline remains. Some days you will feel confident. Some days you will feel tired. Some days life will feel heavy. But discipline allows you to continue moving forward even when emotions try to stop you. That is real strength. When I trained martial arts, I did not train only when I felt inspired. I trained constantly because repetition creates mastery. Every movement had to become natural. Every reaction had to become controlled. Every weakness had to be challenged repeatedly. Your mind works the same way. If you constantly feed your mind negativity, fear, excuses, and distractions, your thinking becomes weak. But if you train your mind with discipline, focus, patience, and self-control every single day, your entire mentality changes. Most people underestimate how much their daily habits shape their life. Small habits create your future. The way you think every day matters. The way you speak to yourself matters. The way you handle stress matters. The way you respond to problems matters. Everything you repeat daily slowly becomes part of your identity. That is why you must become conscious of what you allow into your mind. Many people destroy their peace by constantly consuming negativity. They surround themselves with drama, toxic conversations, meaningless distractions, and people who drain their energy. Then they wonder why they feel mentally exhausted all the time. Protect your mind carefully. Your mind is your greatest weapon, but it can also become your greatest enemy if you do not discipline it properly. I learned that a weak mind reacts emotionally to everything, but a disciplined mind stays calm under pressure. A weak mind quits when life becomes difficult, but a disciplined mind continues forward despite difficulty. A weak mind constantly seeks comfort, but a disciplined mind understands that growth often requires discomfort. That is why discipline creates freedom. Most people think discipline limits them, but the opposite is true. Lack of discipline creates suffering. Lack of discipline creates chaos. Lack of discipline creates weakness. But discipline gives you control over your actions, emotions, habits, and decisions. And once you gain control over yourself, life changes completely. I want you to understand something important. Your biggest battle is not with other people. Your biggest battle is with your own mind. Can you stay focused when distractions surround you? Can you remain disciplined when motivation disappears? Can you stay calm when emotions become intense? Can you continue improving even when progress feels slow? That is the real test. Most people lose these battles daily because they allow temporary feelings to control permanent decisions. They quit too early. They become lazy too easily. They allow fear to stop them before they even begin. But strong people train themselves differently. They understand that success is built privately long before it becomes visible publicly. When I was developing myself, I became obsessed with growth. I studied martial arts deeply. I studied philosophy deeply. I studied movement, focus, discipline, and self-awareness constantly because I understood something powerful. If you stop growing mentally, physically, and spiritually, you slowly begin weakening without realizing it. That is why self-improvement must become part of your lifestyle. Do not train your mind one day and neglect it the next. Train it daily. Train your focus daily. Train your patience daily. Train your emotional control daily. Train your discipline daily, because life will constantly test your mentality. There will be moments of failure, moments of rejection, moments where people doubt you, moments where you feel exhausted emotionally and mentally. And in those moments, your discipline will matter more than your emotions. Weak people are controlled by mood. Strong people are controlled by purpose. I learned that pain can either destroy you or train you depending on your mindset. Many people allow difficult experiences to make them bitter, angry, and emotionally unstable. But disciplined people use pain as fuel for growth. Every challenge becomes training. Every setback becomes wisdom. Every difficult moment becomes an opportunity to become mentally stronger. That is how powerful people are created, not through comfort, not through easy lives, but through consistent mental discipline during difficult times. Most people want peace, but they avoid the habits required to create peace. They stay attached to distractions. They refuse to control their emotions. They constantly seek instant pleasure instead of long-term growth. But peace is earned through discipline. A disciplined mind sleeps better because it is not constantly consumed by chaos. A disciplined mind stays calmer because it is trained not to react emotionally to everything. A disciplined mind becomes more confident because it trusts itself. And trust in yourself changes everything. The more disciplined you become, the less easily life shakes you. Criticism affects you less. Failure affects you less. Negativity affects you less because your inner strength becomes stronger than external circumstances. That is when real confidence begins. Not fake confidence based on attention or ego, but quiet confidence built through self-control and discipline. I want you to stop waiting for life to magically change. Your life changes when your habits change. Your habits change when your discipline changes. And your discipline changes when you finally decide to take control of your own mind. No one else can do this for you. Nobody can build your discipline except you. Nobody can strengthen your mind except you. Nobody can create your future except you. That responsibility belongs to you alone. That is why you must stop making excuses and begin training your mind seriously. Train yourself to wake up with purpose. Train yourself to stay focused. Train yourself to remain calm under pressure. Train yourself to keep moving forward even when life becomes difficult, because the disciplined mind becomes unstoppable over time. Most people quit too early to discover how powerful they could have become. Do not be one of them. You have more strength inside you than you realize, but strength without discipline becomes wasted potential. Discipline is what transforms potential into power. And once your mind becomes disciplined, focused, emotionally controlled, and consistent, you become dangerous in a way most people will never understand. Because now your strength no longer depends on temporary feelings. It becomes part of who you are. And a person who masters himself every single day slowly becomes impossible to break. 9. Learn to walk alone without losing yourself. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning how to stand alone without feeling empty inside. Most people are terrified of being alone. They constantly need attention, validation, conversations, relationships, or distractions because silence forces them to face themselves. The moment they are alone, their insecurities become louder, their fears become louder, their overthinking becomes louder, so they run toward noise just to avoid themselves. But I learned something powerful through my journey. Solitude can either destroy you or transform you depending on how you use it. When I was developing myself, there were many moments of isolation, many moments where I had to trust my own path, even when people around me did not understand my vision. There were moments when I felt different from everyone else because I refused to limit myself to traditional ways of thinking. And during those moments, I learned how important it is to become comfortable with standing alone. Because if you cannot stand alone peacefully, you will spend your entire life emotionally depending on other people to feel complete. That is dangerous. Most people lose themselves trying to avoid loneliness. They stay in unhealthy relationships because they fear being alone. They tolerate disrespect because they fear rejection. They constantly seek approval because they fear isolation. And slowly, they abandon their own identity just to maintain connection with others. But connection without self-respect becomes emotional imprisonment. You must learn how to enjoy your own company. You must learn how to sit quietly with your own thoughts without needing constant distraction. You must learn how to build yourself privately, even when nobody is clapping for you. That is where real strength begins. I spent countless hours training alone, thinking alone, reflecting alone, improving myself alone. And those moments of solitude shaped my mentality deeply. Because solitude forces you to confront your weaknesses honestly. There is nobody to hide behind, nobody to distract you, nobody to save you from yourself. And that is uncomfortable for many people. But discomfort is often where transformation begins. Most people today are addicted to noise. Their mind is constantly filled with social media, opinions, entertainment, drama, and endless distractions. They are never truly alone with themselves long enough to understand who they really are. That is why so many people feel lost internally. They know everybody else, but they do not know themselves. They understand trends, but they do not understand their own mind. They constantly seek connection with the world while remaining disconnected from themselves. I realize that self-awareness becomes stronger in silence. When you spend time alone intentionally, you begin noticing your habits, fears, emotional patterns, strengths, and weaknesses more clearly. You begin understanding what truly matters to you instead of blindly following what everyone else values. And that changes your life, because once you truly know yourself, outside opinions lose much of their power over you. A man who understands himself becomes difficult to manipulate. Most people are emotionally controlled because they depend too heavily on external validation. They need people constantly reassuring them, constantly praising them, constantly accepting them. But this creates emotional weakness because now their peace depends on outside approval. I refused to build my confidence that way. Real confidence is built internally. It is built through discipline, growth, self-respect, and overcoming struggles privately. It is built when you continue improving yourself even when nobody notices. It is built when you stay loyal to your vision despite criticism or loneliness. That is why solitude can become one of your greatest teachers if you stop fearing it. When you walk alone, you discover your true strength. You learn how to think independently. You learn how to trust yourself. You learn how to survive emotionally without constantly depending on others. And most importantly, you stop abandoning yourself just to keep people around you. Listen to me carefully. Not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. Some people enter your life only for a season. Some people leave when you begin changing. Some people become uncomfortable when you start growing mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And that is okay. Do not destroy your growth trying to hold on to people who no longer align with your journey. Many people stay trapped in old environments because they fear losing connection. But growth often requires separation. You cannot become stronger while remaining attached to everything that weakens your mind. I learned that sometimes walking alone is necessary for transformation. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, and distractions, it becomes difficult to hear your own inner voice. But solitude creates clarity. It allows you to reconnect with yourself deeply. That is why calm and focused people often spend time alone, intentionally. Not because they hate people, but because they understand the value of protecting their energy. There is a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness feels empty because you believe something is missing. But solitude becomes powerful when you use it for growth. A disciplined person uses solitude to strengthen the mind, sharpen focus, build vision, and reconnect with purpose. Weak people fear being alone because they have never learned how to face themselves honestly. But strong people become stronger through solitude because it teaches independence. And independence creates freedom. The moment you stop emotionally depending on everyone around you, your confidence changes completely. Now, rejection affects you less. Abandonment affects you less. Criticism affects you less. Because your identity is no longer built on other people staying in your life permanently. It is built on your relationship with yourself. That is powerful. I want you to stop fearing solitude so much. Some of your greatest growth will happen privately. Some of your greatest lessons will happen during silent moments. Some of your biggest transformations will happen when nobody is watching. Do not always chase crowded places, constant validation, and endless attention. Learn how to enjoy stillness too, because stillness sharpens the mind. Stillness reveals truth. Stillness builds emotional strength. Most people are mentally weak because they constantly escape silence. They distract themselves every second because they are uncomfortable facing their own thoughts. But healing, awareness, discipline, and self-mastery require moments of deep reflection. That is why you must become strong enough to stand alone without feeling broken. You do not need everyone to understand you. You do not need everyone to support your vision. You do not need constant attention to feel valuable. The moment you understand this, your entire energy changes. You stop chasing people desperately. You stop begging for acceptance. You stop sacrificing your peace just to avoid loneliness. And instead, you begin building yourself quietly. That is dangerous, because a person who becomes emotionally independent develops a different kind of confidence. He no longer fears losing people as much because he knows how to remain whole by himself. And once you stop fearing loneliness, people lose one of the biggest ways they control you emotionally. That is freedom. I learned that some battles must be fought alone. Some growth must happen alone. Some transformations require solitude. Do not fear those moments. Embrace them. Because the person you become during solitude is often far stronger than the person you were surrounded by constant noise. And when you finally learn how to walk alone without losing yourself, you become mentally stronger than most people will ever understand. Because now your peace, confidence, and identity no longer depend on who stays or who leaves. They come from within. And a person who finds strength within himself becomes almost impossible to break. 10. Master yourself before you try to master the world. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control everything around them while completely failing to control themselves. They try to control other people's opinions. They try to control situations they cannot change. They try to force life to move exactly the way they want. And because of this, they become emotionally exhausted, mentally distracted, and spiritually weak. But I learned something through martial arts, philosophy, discipline, and life itself. The greatest victory is not conquering other people. The greatest victory is conquering yourself. That is the real battle. Most people are fighting external wars every single day while losing the internal war inside their own minds. They cannot control their anger. They cannot control their fear. They cannot control their distractions, habits, emotions, or impulses. And without self-mastery, no amount of success, money, attention, or power will ever bring true peace. Because if you cannot control yourself, eventually your mind will control you. When I trained martial arts, people often focused only on physical fighting, but true martial arts was always much deeper than physical combat. Real martial arts teaches awareness, discipline, emotional control, patience, focus, and understanding of oneself. The strongest fighter is not always the one with the strongest punch. Sometimes the strongest fighter is the one who remains calm under pressure while everyone else loses control emotionally. That is mastery. I understood that before I could become powerful externally, I first needed control internally. I needed to discipline my emotions, discipline my habits, discipline my focus, discipline my reactions, discipline my thinking. Because without internal discipline, external success becomes unstable. Most people today are mentally controlled by temporary feelings. If they feel motivated, they work hard. If they feel tired, they quit. If they feel emotional, they make reckless decisions. Their emotions constantly decide the direction of their life. That is weakness. A disciplined mind learns how to act correctly, even when emotions become difficult. I learned this deeply during my own journey. There were moments of frustration, failure, criticism, physical pain, exhaustion, and pressure. But every difficult moment became training for my mentality, because life will always test you. The question is whether you control yourself during those tests or allow emotions to control you. That is why self-mastery is one of the highest forms of power. Most people think power means controlling others, but true power is controlling yourself when anger tries to take over. True power is remaining focused when distractions surround you. True power is staying disciplined when nobody is watching. True power is maintaining peace while the world around you becomes chaotic. That is real strength. Many people destroy their own life because they never learn self-control. One emotional decision ruins years of progress. One addiction destroys discipline completely. One uncontrolled habit slowly weakens the mind every single day. And the dangerous part is this often happens slowly. Weakness does not always destroy you instantly. Sometimes it destroys you quietly through daily habits, emotional reactions, laziness, distractions, and lack of discipline repeated over many years. That is why you must become conscious of yourself. Watch your thoughts carefully. Watch your habits carefully. Watch your emotional reactions carefully, because everything you repeat daily slowly shapes the person you become. When I developed my philosophy, I realized that mastering yourself requires honesty. You must become honest about your weaknesses instead of pretending they do not exist. Many people avoid self-awareness because the truth about themselves feels uncomfortable. They blame others for everything while refusing to examine their own mind honestly. But growth begins when excuses end. If your anger controls you, admit it. If distractions control you, admit it. If fear controls your decisions, admit it. Because once you become aware of your weaknesses, you can begin strengthening them. That is the path of self-mastery. I learned that discipline is freedom. Most people think discipline feels restrictive, but lack of discipline creates suffering. Lack of discipline creates emotional chaos, financial problems, weak habits, unstable thinking, and regret. But discipline creates order inside your life. A disciplined mind becomes calmer. A disciplined body becomes stronger. A disciplined life becomes more focused. That is why powerful people protect their routines carefully. Your daily habits matter more than your temporary motivation. Anyone can feel inspired for one day. But can you stay disciplined consistently? Can you continue improving when progress feels slow? Can you keep moving forward during difficult moments? That is where real strength is built. Most people quit because they seek comfort more than growth. They avoid discomfort constantly. But everything meaningful in life requires some level of discomfort. Strength requires discomfort. Discipline requires discomfort. Growth requires discomfort. I accepted this reality early. Pain became part of training. Failure became part of learning. Discipline became part of daily life. And over time, this created mental toughness. Most people today are mentally weak because their life lacks discipline. Their attention is scattered everywhere. Their emotions change constantly. Their habits are uncontrolled. And because of this, they feel lost internally. But a disciplined person develops clarity. He knows what deserves his energy. He knows what deserves his attention. He knows when to stay silent. He knows when to act. That awareness comes from mastering yourself. I want you to understand something deeply. Peace is not something you find accidentally. Peace is built through self-control. If your mind is constantly reacting emotionally to everything, peace becomes impossible. If your habits are destructive, peace becomes impossible. If your attention is controlled by distractions, peace becomes impossible. That is why mastering yourself changes everything. The more control you gain over your own mind, the less external situations control you emotionally. Criticism affects you less. Rejection affects you less. Negativity affects you less. Because now your emotional stability comes from within instead of outside circumstances. That is freedom. Many people spend their entire lives chasing external success while neglecting internal growth. They become successful publicly, but remain emotionally weak privately. They appear strong outside, but feel empty inside because they never mastered themselves. Do not make that mistake. Build yourself internally first. Strengthen your mind first. Strengthen your discipline first. Strengthen your character first. Because external success without internal control eventually collapses. I learned that true confidence is quiet. True confidence does not need constant validation. It does not need to dominate every conversation. It does not desperately seek attention. Real confidence comes from knowing you can trust yourself no matter what life brings. And trust in yourself is built through self-mastery. When you keep promises to yourself, confidence grows. When you stay disciplined consistently, confidence grows. When you face difficulties without running away emotionally, confidence grows. That is how unshakable people are created. Not through easy lives, but through difficult experiences handled with discipline and awareness. Most people want quick results, but self-mastery is a lifelong process. You must continuously observe yourself, continuously improve yourself, continuously discipline yourself. Because the moment you stop growing, your mind slowly begins weakening again. That is why I constantly studied, trained, reflected, and evolved. I never wanted to become mentally stagnant. I wanted my body, mind, and philosophy to continue developing constantly. Growth became part of my identity. That mindset changes everything. When growth becomes your lifestyle, failure no longer destroys you because every setback becomes a lesson. Criticism no longer controls you because your focus remains on improvement. Difficult situations no longer break you because your mentality becomes stronger through adversity. That is the power of self-mastery. Most people spend years trying to change the world around them while refusing to change themselves first. But once you master your own thoughts, emotions, habits, focus, and discipline, your entire life transforms naturally. Because now you are no longer controlled by chaos internally.
Now your mind becomes calm,
Focused, disciplined, stable, and a person who truly controls himself becomes incredibly powerful. Not because he controls others, but because nothing controls him easily anymore. That is the highest level of strength. The less emotional chaos inside you, the more clarity you gain. The more disciplined your mind becomes, the stronger your life becomes. And once you truly master yourself, the world loses much of its power to break you, because now your strength comes from within. And inner strength is one of the most dangerous forms of power a human being can possess. 11. Stop wasting your life trying to prove yourself. One of the biggest mistakes people make in life is constantly trying to prove their worth to everyone around them. They try to prove they are successful enough, smart enough, strong enough, important enough. They constantly seek recognition, validation, approval, and respect from the outside world. And because of this, they spend years emotionally exhausted, mentally distracted, and spiritually disconnected from themselves. I learned something powerful during my life. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself to everyone, you become mentally free. Most people are trapped in invisible battles every single day. They compare themselves constantly. They feel pressured to impress others. They feel the need to explain every decision, defend every action, and respond to every criticism. Their entire life becomes performance instead of peace. That is not strength. Real strength is being secure enough within yourself that you no longer feel the need to constantly convince people who you are. When I was building my path, many people doubted me. Some people criticized my methods. Some questioned my philosophy. Others believed I was too different because I refused to blindly follow traditional limitations. If I spent all my energy trying to prove myself to everyone around me, I would have destroyed my own focus completely. Instead, I focused on mastery. I focused on growth. I focused on becoming stronger mentally, physically, and spiritually, because results speak louder than endless explanations. Most people waste too much energy trying to control how others see them. But no matter how good you are, some people will misunderstand you anyway. Some people will judge you unfairly anyway. Some people will criticize you simply because they cannot understand your mindset. Accept this reality and move forward. You do not need everyone to believe in you before you believe in yourself. That is where true confidence begins. Weak people constantly seek attention because they secretly doubt their own value internally. They need external praise to feel important. They need constant recognition to feel worthy. But the problem with building confidence this way is that your peace becomes dependent on outside opinions. And outside opinions change constantly. One compliment makes you feel powerful. One criticism destroys your confidence. That is emotional instability. I learned that true confidence must come from within, not from applause. When you know who you are internally, you stop desperately chasing validation externally. You stop arguing with people who misunderstand you. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself to everyone. You stop reacting emotionally to every opinion. That changes your entire energy. A secure person moves differently. He speaks calmly. He acts with purpose. He does not desperately seek approval. And because of this, his presence becomes more powerful naturally. Most people today are addicted to proving themselves online and offline. They constantly compare lifestyles, success, appearance, money, status, and achievements. Their mind becomes trapped in competition instead of growth. But competition with others often distracts you from mastering yourself. I was never interested in becoming a copy of someone else. I wanted to become the highest version of myself. That is where your focus should be too. Do not waste your life trying to impress people who are distracted by temporary things anyway. Most people are too busy fighting their own internal battles to think about you as much as you imagine. Yet people destroy their peace every day, worrying about judgment and approval. That is unnecessary suffering. The more you seek validation, the more emotionally weak you become, because now your identity depends on people constantly approving of you. And the moment approval disappears, your confidence collapses too. That is dangerous. You must build a mentality that remains stable even without applause. Learn how to work hard quietly. Learn how to improve privately. Learn how to succeed without announcing everything. That is real power. I spent countless hours training when nobody was watching. No audience, no attention, no applause. Just discipline, repetition, pain, and focus. Those private moments built my strength far more than public recognition ever could. Most people only want visible success, but they avoid the invisible discipline required to create it. They want admiration without sacrifice, respect without consistency, confidence without self-mastery. But real confidence is earned privately through discipline and growth. That is why self-respect matters more than public approval. When you respect yourself deeply, you stop tolerating things that destroy your peace. You stop begging people to recognize your value. You stop lowering yourself just to fit into environments that weaken your spirit. Because now, your worth is no longer controlled by external opinions. That creates freedom. Many people remain emotionally trapped because they fear disappointing others. They make decisions based on approval instead of purpose. They hide their true personality to avoid criticism. They silence their real goals because they fear judgment. And slowly, they lose themselves completely. Do not live like that. Your life becomes miserable when your identity depends on other people accepting you constantly. Some people will support your growth. Some people will misunderstand your growth. Some people will secretly resent your growth. But none of that should stop your journey. I learned that people often criticize what they do not understand. If you think differently, move differently, or refuse to follow the crowd, some people will always feel uncomfortable with that. Let them. Do not shrink yourself just to make weak-minded people feel comfortable. Most people become average because they spend their entire life trying to fit in. But greatness often requires standing apart mentally. That requires courage. You must become comfortable with disappointing people sometimes. Not because you want to hurt others, but because constantly abandoning yourself to please everyone destroys your inner strength. A man who always needs approval becomes emotionally controlled by rejection, but a man who trusts himself becomes emotionally free. That is the difference. I want you to stop exhausting yourself, trying to prove your worth constantly. You do not need to explain your vision to everyone. You do not need everyone to understand your goals. You do not need to react to every opinion about your life. Stay focused on your path. Because talking too much about your plans often weakens your energy. Quiet focus is more powerful than endless explanation. I learned that silence protects growth. When you become obsessed with proving yourself, your attention becomes scattered. You focus more on appearances than actual improvement. But when you focus purely on mastery, growth becomes natural. That is why disciplined people often move quietly. They allow results to speak. They allow consistency to speak. They allow actions to speak louder than words. Most people today are addicted to appearances. They want to look successful more than they want to become successful internally. But image without substance eventually collapses. That is why character matters more than attention. Your habits matter more than your image. Your discipline matters more than temporary praise. Your inner peace matters more than public approval. Never forget that. I realized that life becomes much lighter when you stop carrying the burden of trying to impress everyone around you. You stop overthinking every action. You stop fearing criticism constantly. You stop wasting emotional energy trying to control how people see you. And suddenly, your mind becomes calmer, clearer, more focused. That is freedom. Most people are prisoners of public opinion. Their emotions rise and fall depending on how they are perceived. But once you stop depending on external validation, your confidence becomes more stable because it is built internally. And internal confidence is powerful because now rejection no longer destroys you, criticism no longer controls you, comparison no longer weakens you. You become focused on growth instead of attention. That mindset changes everything. I want you to understand something deeply. You do not need to prove your value to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You do not need to chase respect from people who refuse to respect themselves. You do not need to explain your purpose to people trapped in small thinking. Focus on becoming stronger instead. Focus on mastering yourself instead. Focus on building a life that feels peaceful internally instead of impressive externally. Because many people look successful publicly while feeling empty privately. Do not trade your peace for appearances. Real power is quiet. Real confidence is disciplined. Real strength does not beg for validation. And once you finally stop wasting your life trying to prove yourself to everyone around you, something powerful happens. Your energy returns to you. Your focus returns to you. Your peace returns to you. Now you move differently, calmer, stronger, more focused, more disciplined, because your life is no longer controlled by outside approval. It is controlled by inner purpose. And a person who no longer needs validation from the world becomes incredibly dangerous mentally, because now nothing external has enough power to shake his identity easily anymore. 12. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Most people do not realize how much of their life is being destroyed by where they give their energy every single day. They waste energy on arguments that change nothing. They waste energy on people who drain their peace. They waste energy worrying about opinions, overthinking problems, chasing validation, and reacting emotionally to situations that do not truly matter. And slowly, without realizing it, their mind becomes exhausted, distracted, and emotionally weak. I learned something deeply important through martial arts, discipline, and life itself. Your energy is one of your most valuable possessions. Where you place your attention every day shapes your mental state, your emotions, your focus, and ultimately your future. That is why powerful people protect their energy carefully. Most people give their energy away too easily. One negative person ruins their mood. One stressful situation destroys their peace. One criticism stays in their mind for days. They allow external situations to constantly control their internal world. That creates suffering. When I trained, I understood that energy must be directed with purpose. A fighter who wastes energy carelessly becomes weak quickly. Every unnecessary movement creates exhaustion. Every emotional reaction drains focus. Every distraction weakens awareness. Life works the same way. Every unnecessary argument drains your peace. Every toxic environment weakens your spirit. Every emotional reaction steals mental energy from your purpose. That is why discipline over your energy is so important. Most people are emotionally tired not because life is impossible, but because they constantly give their attention to things that do not deserve it. They think about people who no longer care about them. They replay old situations repeatedly in their mind. They obsess over opinions they cannot control. They absorb negativity from everywhere around them, and over time their mind becomes heavy. I refused to live like that. I learned that if I wanted peace, focus, and growth, I needed to become selective about where my energy went. Not every conversation deserved my attention. Not every battle deserved my reaction. Not every person deserved access to my inner peace. That awareness changes your life. Most people feel mentally weak because their energy is scattered everywhere. Their focus constantly jumps from one distraction to another. Their emotions constantly react to outside situations. Their mind never truly rests because they are emotionally attached to too many unnecessary things. But disciplined people learn how to protect their mental space. That is real power. I want you to understand something deeply. Your attention is powerful. Whatever you focus on repeatedly grows stronger inside your mind. If you constantly focus on negativity, your mind becomes negative. If you constantly focus on fear, your confidence becomes weak. If you constantly focus on drama, your peace disappears. But if you focus on discipline, growth, awareness, and purpose, your mentality becomes stronger every day. That is why protecting your energy is not selfish, it is necessary. Many people feel guilty for creating distance from toxic environments, negative people, or emotionally draining situations. But protecting your peace is part of self-respect. You cannot build a strong mind while constantly surrounding yourself with chaos. I learned this clearly throughout my life. Some people bring inspiration into your life. Others bring distraction. Some people support your growth. Others weaken your focus through negativity, jealousy, emotional instability, and endless drama. You must learn the difference. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. Weak people often become uncomfortable when you begin protecting your peace because they are used to emotional chaos. They expect you to react emotionally. They expect you to engage in unnecessary conflict. They expect you to constantly explain yourself. But calm people move differently. Calm people understand that silence protects energy. That is why I often remained focused instead of reacting emotionally to everything around me. I realized that emotional reactions usually create more weakness, not more strength. Most arguments solve nothing. Most emotional battles only create exhaustion. You must stop allowing small things to steal your peace so easily. Not every insult deserves your response. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every problem deserves your emotional attachment. Learn how to let things go. That is strength. Most people carry emotional weight everywhere they go. They carry anger from the past, regret from old mistakes, pain from relationships, fear about the future. And because they never release these emotions properly, their energy becomes heavy constantly. But peace requires emotional discipline. You cannot feel mentally free while emotionally attached to everything. That is why I believed deeply in adaptability and flow. Like water, your mind must learn how to move without becoming trapped by every obstacle emotionally. Water does not waste energy fighting every rock in its path. It flows naturally while remaining powerful. That is how your mentality should become too. Strong people do not waste energy trying to control everything around them. They focus on controlling themselves. That changes everything. Most people are exhausted because they are fighting too many unnecessary battles internally. Their mind never rests. Their emotions never settle. They constantly overthink situations they cannot change. But wisdom teaches you where your energy actually belongs. Your energy belongs in your growth, your discipline, your peace, your healing, your purpose, not in endless negativity. I want you to ask yourself honestly, where is your energy going every day? Is it going toward growth or distraction? Toward discipline or emotional chaos? Toward peace or overthinking? Because your future is being shaped by your daily focus right now. I realize that one of the most powerful things a person can learn is emotional detachment from unnecessary negativity, not coldness, not becoming emotionless, but learning how to remain calm without absorbing every problem around you emotionally. That creates mental freedom. Most people absorb the emotions of everyone around them. If someone is angry, they become angry too. If someone is negative, they become negative too. If someone criticizes them, their peace disappears instantly. That means their emotions are controlled externally. But powerful people develop emotional stability internally. They do not allow every outside situation to enter their mind deeply. That discipline protects peace. When you begin protecting your energy seriously, your life starts changing quietly. Your mind becomes calmer, your focus becomes sharper, your emotions become more stable. You stop feeling mentally drained all the time because now you are no longer wasting your life reacting emotionally to everything. I learned that protecting your energy also means protecting your time. Most people waste years in distractions that add nothing meaningful to their growth. Endless entertainment, endless arguments, endless comparison, endless emotional attachment to things that do not truly matter. And one day, they realize they wasted their potential. Do not make that mistake. Your energy is limited, your attention is limited, your time is limited. Use them wisely. Focus on things that strengthen your mind instead of weakening it. Spend time around people who inspire growth instead of emotional chaos. Build habits that create discipline instead of weakness. Choose peace over unnecessary conflict. That is maturity. Many people believe being calm means being passive, but protecting your peace often requires tremendous discipline. It requires saying no to things that drain you. It requires walking away from environments that destroy your focus. It requires emotional control when others try to provoke you. That is not weakness. That is self-respect. I learned that a focused mind becomes dangerous because it is no longer wasting energy everywhere. Its attention becomes directed toward growth, purpose, and mastery instead of emotional chaos. That is why calm people often become the strongest people internally. They are not constantly distracted by noise. They are not emotionally reacting every second. They are protecting their mind carefully, and that creates inner power. Most people never reach their full potential because too much of their energy is wasted on things that do not matter long term. They are mentally exhausted from carrying unnecessary emotional weight constantly. But once you begin protecting your peace seriously, life becomes clearer. You think better, you feel lighter, you focus deeper, you move calmer, and slowly you realize something powerful. Peace is not found accidentally. Peace is protected intentionally. That is why you must become disciplined about your energy. Protect your focus, protect your emotions, protect your peace, protect your time. Because once you stop giving your energy to everything around you, your mind becomes stronger than most people will ever understand. And a person with protected energy, emotional control, and inner peace becomes extremely difficult to break. At the end of the day, real power is not about fighting everyone around you. Real power is mastering yourself. Most people spend their lives emotionally reacting to everything. They react to criticism, rejection, disrespect, pressure, fear, and distractions without ever realizing that every reaction gives away their power. Their emotions control their decisions. Their thoughts control their peace. Their environment controls their mindset. But the moment you begin controlling yourself, everything changes. When you think less, your mind becomes clearer. When you speak less, your words become more powerful. When you focus more, your energy becomes dangerous. That is what I learned through discipline, martial arts, pain, struggle, and self-mastery. True strength does not come from physical power alone. True strength comes from emotional control, mental discipline, focus, awareness, and inner peace. A calm person becomes difficult to manipulate. A disciplined person becomes difficult to distract. A focused person becomes difficult to stop. And a person who no longer needs validation from the world becomes mentally free. Most people never reach their full potential because they waste too much energy trying to prove themselves, chasing approval, reacting emotionally, and fighting unnecessary battles. But powerful people move differently. They protect their peace. They protect their focus. They observe more than they react. They master themselves privately while the world remains distracted. That is why the less you react, the more dangerous you become. Not dangerous because of anger, not dangerous because of aggression, but dangerous because your mind becomes calm while others panic, focused while others become distracted, disciplined while others lose control. And once you truly master your emotions, thoughts, habits, and focus, you become stronger than most people can even understand, because now your strength comes from within. And inner strength is one of the most unstoppable forms of power a human being can possess.